We're back.
Cozumel, Liz. We met you in Cozumel, not Cancun.
Yeah. Get somebody there.
Okay. hello again.
We're back.
We're back. And this time we're going to do Roadrunner.
Your movie.
That's
Roadrunner.
right. My movie.
Let's watch a trailer.
Yeah.
You're probably going to find out about it anyway. So here's a little preemptive truth-telling. There's no happy ending.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Chef Anthony Bourdain.
Anthony Bourdain, the renowned chef and best-selling author of Kitchen Confidential.
All the TV chefs are so cuddly and adorable, you know, maybe I'm the antidote or something.
Has a new program, Parts Unknown.
1 minute I was standing next to a deep fryer, and the next I was watching the sunset over the Sahara. What am I doing here? I said earlier that I was going to tell you the truth. This is part of it.
It was almost never about food. It was about Tony learning how to be a better person.
When he threw himself into something, he threw himself completely.
Why am I here? Am I insane?
He was like, life's about finding a cliff worth jumping off. I'm going to look for something feral and wild.
He was a traditional romantic.
Reality was never going to live up to exactly how he pictured it.
Hey, what's up, man?
He was always rushing to get into the scene. He was rushing to get out of the scene, to go somewhere next, even if he had nowhere to go.
He was definitely searching for something.
You were successful, and I'm successful, and I'm wondering, are you happy?
I know how hard it must have been for him to reach out to someone and be like, hey man, I'm not doing well.
Nothing feels better than going home. And nothing feels better than leaving home. The bittersweet curse.
Travel isn't always pretty. You go away, you learn. You get scarred, marked, changed in the process.
You inspire so many people with the show. You have a good karma.
Good karma?
I think so. Well,
Some of you might ask, how is this food related? If I know.
Boom. Let me mute it. There you go. Boom.
Okay, this was a really sad movie for me to watch because I love Anthony Bourdain. This is documentary film following the celebrity chef Anthony Bourdain. Basically, when we first meet him, he's basically a heroin addict line cook who wrote a great book called Kitchen Confidential. I loved this book. It was just like, okay, I'm going to put it with Catch-22, MASH, Benjamin, what's his name? Hawkeye Pierce. Benjamin Hawkeye Pierce really was a surgeon, and he really wrote this series of books. It was like so funny about a really difficult subject. He was in the Korean War, and so he was as a surgeon, and he wrote about it. It was hysterical. His series of books are hysterical, as you know from the series probably, and Catch-22. He has that kind of humor. It was that good.
Wow.
So that's when I fell in love with him. I was like, so we started watching him on PBS. I read the book. I became a big fan of Mr. Bourdain. The book changed his life, I say, unfortunately. He had a hit show called Parts Unknown, another one, No Reservations. This is a movie about Anthony Bourdain, not about his death. It's about his life, not about his death. He was a graduate of the Culinary Institute of Americas and was working as an executive chef at the Brasserie Les Hayes in Manhattan. And then the book changed his life, and I personally don't think it changed it good. But it goes on from there. He seemed to me relatively happy before that time. And I was saying, if I was him, this has nothing to do with the movie, but if I was him, I would have started my own restaurant. He loved working with the line cooks. He loved the guys in the kitchen. He loved the dishwasher. He loved that. That's what he liked. He was a working class guy, and he liked that environment. So, you know, that to me, that was his problem, is he went out of that. He lost contact with the roots of the restaurant are the dishwasher, the prepper, the guy who prepares the food, the line cooks, the jokes in the kitchen between the guys. It's like that's what he loved, and that's what he lost. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I have a different perspective because I basically didn't even know. I knew the name Anthony Bourdain. I didn't really know of him. So the first time I actually saw him was in a movie called The Big Short.
Wow.
If you remember that, he does a
Sure, I
little
love The Big
discussion, of economic discussion about what's going on, you know. And because my sister pointed out, because she sort of liked him. So I thought, when I saw that Roadrunner, a movie about Anthony Bourdain, I thought, now I can actually learn about him. Now, I think he had a fascinating life. For all of you who do not know, spoilers, I am going to do it because they talk very upfront that he had committed suicide. And that made huge news. In fact, that was actually when he was filming the last show for CNN,
it was at
correct?
CNN.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how I remember. That's when he made news and I saw him and heard about him because of the suicide. Literally. It's like, oh, wow. And everyone was covering it. Celebrity Chef. So I thought, wow, that was it. And you begin to wonder because when you said, I thought when I'm watching the movie and seeing his life, it's like, oh no, once he got to doing TV, because that was the whole point of like, oh yeah, he's this up and coming chef, they're doing this. Then all of a sudden people said, he's a writer. He can write.
Oh,
so
he's a wonderful writer.
That's the part I got because you're right that the things that how he expressed himself was so unique.
Very funny.
It was like part punk, part, like I said, almost Kurt Vonnegut-ish or something. Very humorous, this to the point.
He's like a rock star of chefs, He's got a personality.
And so I thought, okay, but that TV show sort of gave him an outlet for not only just, the cooking part, which again, that's something I still don't even know much about, like his cooking.
You should read Kitchen Confidential. You would love it.
No, but even just about what kind of chef he was. I mean, like for example, Hester Blumenthal. I was going to almost mention that last one on pig because he came up with what I call sort of that sort of weird new. All your senses must be involved when you eat something, which is what they portray in Pig, when some woman has, and I hate to say pretentious, but it has that sort of feeling to me. So I kept thinking Anthony Bourdain's like one of these type of chefs, right? And he is not at anyone. He likes just good food. In fact, what made me sort of even more admire him, I thought when he told the truth about, when he comes home, I'm sure you want to hear how much I make these great meals at home for myself and my wife. It's like, no, let's go order Chinese. And I thought, see, that's what makes sense to me. You don't want to do what you do for work at home.
Busman's holiday.
Exactly. And yet I like the fact it's like, let's just order Chinese. Like, yeah, that's good. He likes that kind of food, right? It doesn't have to be this sort of rich kind of, or I don't say rich, creamy, saucy French cuisine, for example. So I thought this guy has a lot of charm, and actually I thought he has a lot of charisma watching him as I watched it.
He has lots of charisma.
So I delighted in seeing how the film captured a lot of his sort of, and I'm assuming these are maybe outtakes because literally this is a documentary on his life, filming almost everything.
Well, his life is on film.
Huh?
His life is on film
because they always wanted to film him wherever he went. So what you're seeing, I'm assuming, in a lot of this is sort of like they said, the outtakes in a way, the stuff they didn't use to show you what kind of person he was. Whether he's talking about the camera person having to walk backwards while he's walking forwards again, you're seeing this beautiful countryside. There's also a sequence, later on, it's like, God, why am I, this is so beautiful to be in his surroundings. And it's so true. I thought, oh my God, he's going to Vietnam. He's going to this place. He's eating all these different foods.
That's great food, Vietnam.
And it's like, I just, I thought.
He's living the dream, traveling the world.
Or even like, I think the first one they did was go to Japan, where everything's just sort of foreign. And he's talking about being awkward, being the big American, everyone's sort of staring at him, but no one's making eye contact with them. And I thought, see, that's why I thought that sort of sums him up. It's like, no, he like you said, I'm assuming, again, I don't know him, that he was involved with everyone and everybody. So, which is why I think everyone openly talks about the relationship with him, their friendships. No one really says too many bad things about him. I do like they bring up that one guy had mentioned that, yeah, he said something that literally brings somebody to tears as he relates his story. And I thought, how interesting, because I thought his life must have kicked in to a certain time, but it's when did it start to unravel? Now, towards the end of the film, I think they bring up an excuse how it unravels, but even I think, as someone states, his brother states, no, my brother killed himself. He really wants to put up that this was his demon for whatever reason it was.
Well, remember, he is a heroin addict. And
exactly.
And he was a heroin addict.
Right, exactly.
Which means he kind of goes to the dark side.
Oh, well, I claim, even in his celebrity, the fact that he was this smoker, that he says that the minute he gets up, the first thing he does is light up a cigarette, then I come out to do something. And he was smoking even till the end of his days, it said, because he talks about, I had to lit a cigarette to relax or do something. So I claim if you smoke, there is sort of a slight self-destructive habit sometimes when you have that.
Well, I totally relate to that. I used to be a smoker, and that would be the first thing I would grab in the morning too.
Well, see, I was a smoker, but I never, ever. I mean, I've heard so many people too tell me how the minute they get up, they just light up a cigarette and start smoking. It's like, I never did that. But again, he's such a fascinating character, very colorful, but boy, does this man express himself so succinctly and so uniquely that it's really, he's such a fascinating person to listen to alone. That alone. And so I probably will pick up some of his books and things now about him, because this was an introduction to him. And like I said, my sister watched him, you had watched him. I really sort of never had him.
I actually stopped watching him when he went to
CNN.
Yeah.
Those are the only shows I saw. In fact, that's why I sort of scratched my head, because I think I watched a couple of them and said, this has nothing to do with food. He's just traveling and talking about it.
Well, like she says, if you read Kitchen Confidential, you're going to love that book.
You're going to love it, and you really get a lot of insight into him. Mm-hmm. He really loves the people he worked with. He was a line chef. Mm-hmm. You know how hard that is? That's like a hard job.
Yeah, well, no, but I like the fact that, I think I mentioned this earlier, the fact that he talks at one point, which it just makes me laugh, where the fish people are late. Mm. And he goes, you know what? Why can't they be on time? My kitchen staff is on time. And I thought, he's the real slave driver, because that's the one thing I always heard about chefs, that they are driven to perfection and they drive this home and they're hard on their employees, yet I like to hear, like you had said, how much he gets involved with every single one in his kitchen.
But remember, in a restaurant, the food, I'm from the restaurant, right? It's like a food has to be, at 5 o'clock, it has to be ready.
Yeah.
You can't go, I'm sorry, the fish wasn't, and
right. There was traffic involved.
Yeah, there was traffic, right? You can't do that. So you have to be on time. There's
when
a
I used to
schedule.
I used to work as a waiter, and I used to tell the customers who were like, "Where's the chicken?" Well, they're out there chasing it. They're trying to catch it. It's taking forever. Make light of it,
I think the restaurant business is definitely interesting, and people who are like chefs and cooks, because they spend most of their life goes from, I don't know, like 12 o'clock noon to 12 o'clock at night.
Well, see, that's the one thing I thought about chefs, that no, they start off, he's ordering on the phone with his cell phone.
He's a line cook.
But you see the people that, like, literally the chefs who are going and picking their fish up themselves at 5 o'clock in the morning, getting the vegetables and this. I mean, they want to go through everything.
It's their career.
And then, like you said, they don't close the restaurant, but they're there to make sure everything's prepped properly, everything's cooked properly.
But he's from that world. He didn't start out as a high-end chef. Mm-hmm. He became a high-end chef, but he started out as a line cook, which means he was the guy who was there in the morning. He's preparing the food, he's closing, and he He started at the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
and you know that from Kitchen Confidential, because
okay.
that's what. But you know what? He loved it, and
See, and that's why I was confused when he did the traveling show. Why isn't he cooking more, or doing more cooking?
because
and
he's
stuff?
working for CNN, and CNN has the concept.
Okay.
I'm saying he was kind of a little behind. Okay, this is me and my opinion. It's like, to me, he should have started a restaurant. He should have been the chef, but that would have kept him in contact with the things he loved about the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
He could have done all that by himself later on. He didn't need CNN.
Right.
He could have done that. He could have made his own. You know, later on comes YouTube. Later on comes,
Right.
you know,
Just online. Just
Everything
online,
happened too fast for him.
yeah, he was a little ahead of his time. You know, I think he got away from the things he actually loved about it.
Well,
The
that's-
actual food preparation and cooking.
I think that sort of has to do with sort of his life too, because they mentioned, his first wife, 20 years, I think, but then also how he sort of withdraws from his second wife.
I thought
and
it
the
was
daughter.
25 years. Wasn't
I don't
it?
know.
Or
It's 20
30
some-
something.
I know it's a long
He
relationship,
didn't
yeah.
start getting a show till he was 40. He was not a young man. He was at becoming middle-aged when he hit his success.
Well, that's what I was saying, because also when he became a father, he was not a young man either. So that was another
yeah,
thing.
but you guys can do that.
Oh, yeah, no, but the fact that, like I said, he was sort of involved, and then for some reason, when he separated himself, and I'm assuming because of the shows of traveling, that was to me, that was sort of a sad part, the fact that he seemed so devoted to raising her in this, and then that sort of drifted away, that he drifted away that. And that marriage, too, at one point, so...
I could go on and on about this because I have lots of opinions, but I'm not going to because that was going beyond the movie, which actually I think is like, I would like to see a movie made maybe 10 years from now about him. I would have liked to know a little more about that death.
First of all, how
Because
was he found?
I do agree with this. I don't know, but I agree with his friend who said that guy's a writer, and he died, and he did not leave a note.
A poetic note.
Suicide
You know what
note,
I mean?
right?
And he's a drama queen. It's like he did not leave a note, and that for him was suspect.
Oh, interesting.
You know, him, and you know what? I'm like, I think that's an interesting point. Okay, so let's.
Should I
George.
review it now?
Oh,
George,
yes.
I like it next though. No, I enjoyed the documentary. I was a big fan of.
He brought me
Bourdain
a
too.
tequila.
So
Fantastic.
he's an amazing writing. I remember that I used to like his when we used to watch the documentary
I'm sure he wrote
on
that.
PBS. He was just such a great writer. I go, this guy should write a book or something. But the movie to me it kind of shows three things about him. One is he has an addictive personality, which means when you have an addictive personality,
Yeah.
you go full on. I mean, whatever you do. Like I said, he did jiu-jitsu, and his friend saying he couldn't stop talking about jiu-jitsu. I'm like, I don't care about jiu-jitsu. And then he goes into something else, he couldn't stop talking about that.
Right.
Because addictive personality. I might have a little bit of that because when I was playing video games, I would play from 6 in the afternoon to 6 a.m. too. So quit it anyways. But so when you have an addictive personality, you just go full on. So he has that. He has
I knew more about Akuma than I ever wanted to know.
Street Fighter. So the next thing is that he's also because he's a chef, but because he's a great writer, that also got him places. He's just an amazing writer. He has a gift, like a painter. He's just a great writer. The way he expresses himself. And the third thing is that to me, he has depression too. He suffers from depression. So he has an addictive personality. He suffers from depression. And he's a great writer that allowed him to get where he ended up. He also seemed to me like he will go full on things, and then they will fade out. Like he will lose interest. And then you move on to the next thing.
Exactly. Yes.
And he will go full on into that thing, and then he will lose interest. And now I'm depressed because I don't know what I want to do with my life and everything. So, even being a parent and having a family, it's like, I love my dad, I'm going full on. Oh, I'm losing interest in what I want to do. I move on. So, when I was watching the movie at times, because I really like Anthony Bourdain, but at times I was starting to dislike him more and more. Only because a couple of things, like, because, in the beginning, I would say he had the problems that poor people have, which is paying the rent, the ailments of the poor.
That's what he said. My thing was paying my rent.
Exactly. Yeah. So in the beginning, he was poor. His ailments were the the ailments of the poor, paying the rent, paying the bills, how to survive. Later on, his ailments were the ailments of the rich. I'm depressed, So,
George, you're so smart.
And the thing that one thing that upset me was that he traveled the world, which is at the envy of anybody. And he went to a lot. Sometimes he would go to places where people were suffering,
like Haiti.
Or Rwanda, places that there's war, and he sees people starving, suffering, and I always hated when people who are have a great life, who are very successful, and they go, I'm suffering because I'm depressed, and here I'm suffering in my mansion, and you just travel the world, and you were just next to people who are really suffering, people who are starving, who are dying. How dare you be depressed about whatever? You would think just traveling the world would wake you up to make you a better person, make you aware. I can never be depressed about anything because I've seen stuff, So.
And he's from El Salvador.
So it's like when you see stuff, I'm doing okay. It's like that's what we say. People who are doing okay in life, who very successful, they should work with maybe veterans or the poor, people who have lost their limbs or who are blind. Or
you mean get out of yourself?
Get out of yourself. See what suffering really is. It's not being depressed in my $1 million house and pool. So that part of it kind of upset me about him. I said, come on, dude, get over it. Get over yourself. So, but other than that, he was a very interesting character, great personality, very charismatic, great writers, and I love the show because he's such a great writer. So yeah, and I enjoyed the movie. I know one thing they said that in the movie they use artificial intelligence with some of his quotes, some of his narrations were done by AI.
Oh,
where they just got.
They read his emails.
Yeah.
The emails, they were actually his emails, but they used artificial intelligence.
What they did is they go to this company
read
and
it.
gave him the emails, and the company generated the actual voice for it. And so, but his wife, the one that's the
Which one?
the one the mother of his child, right? She said she did not approve.
Oh,
of that.
yes.
She said I did not tell them to do that because now you're going to somewhere else, and he never said that. He wrote it, but he never said it. So,
okay.
But like I said, yeah, I mean, I like this character. I love the movie. Just that part of it that I had a problem with, and yeah, that was pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you, what do you give it?
I would give that a 7. Good, solid 7.
Yeah, I'll give it 8.
I give it a 9. It was funny. My Anthony Bourdain is the early Anthony Bourdain.
Right.
The later Anthony Bourdain, I feel like he lost contact with his past, with his roots, with his,
with himself.
Yes.
With his initial self, he became a different person.
Like I said,
See, that's the funny part. I didn't get that feeling though watching.
You
the
didn't read his
documentary.
book.
No,
If
no,
you-
but
if you
literally
read-
from watching the movie, because that's the one thing several people had mentioned, that how he kept sort of finding himself. And I agree with you about, like you said, that he kept finding different aspects of himself. But like you said, if he's finding something new, is he leaving something old
Yeah.
behind? You know.
if you read his book, one of the things you really get about it is how much he loved working with his crew. I don't mean
The
on,
boys.
on set. I
Kitchen
mean the
crew, kitchen
boys,
crew.
like
But no,
your
yeah.
kitchen crew.
But
and then
they
after
talk
work,
about the
and
same
after
thing with
work,
the
you
crew.
go and you have a drink with your crew, and now you're in another bar with another group of people, and you all have the same experience. It's a belonging, and the belonging. One of the really great reasons that I liked Anthony Bourdain is he always felt so awkward. He felt so awkward.
He always seemed awkward when
You know,
I saw him. I thoroughly agree. I got that when I
He's
first
kinda
saw
nerdy.
him.
So
Yeah.
he's nerdy, and he is more comfortable with other nerdy people who are also like Juan, who's the deep fryer, or Javier, who's the whatever, and that's the kitchen. That's the kitchen.
Yeah, he's like a working class nerdy guy who suddenly was asked to headline the Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, exactly.
With Queen,
Yeah, exactly. The movie made me really sad, and I'm still sad. And I liked him a lot, and I really feel I wish I could have talked to him before he, because I really feel I felt he was really happy with his first wife. His second wife, I felt like she was great.
Mhm.
But there's something about somebody who's been with you since high school or college, and then when you're just Tony, you're just Tony.
Going through all
You're
the
just
crap, yeah.
Tony, the fuck up. Tony, the drug addict. Tony, and then all of a sudden you're like this CNN person.
You're Anthony Bourdain.
You're Anthony Bourdain, and that's not Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah, and then you come back to your hood and you're like, come on, Tony.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not the
And
Bourdain doing that too.
I felt like he was to me, I'm a working class person. I feel like he was a working class person, and he was not comfortable in that world.
Ah,
That's my opinion. Okay, so.
I guess we'll wait, so I guess we'll
Yeah.
be back.
Okay.